And I thought that was something for real, that I will retire. I sent them the money, and then a few days later, I had to send some more money and some more money to get the package, what they call it, the package.
This is the story of a woman who spent 44 years working as a waitress at a restaurant in Los Angeles. She served food, she took orders, she saved what she could, $65,000 over 4 decades, and then one phone call wiped it all out. On Love or Lie, we don't just tell you someone got scammed. We show you exactly how it happens, the psychology, the escalation, the moment where walking away becomes impossible. If that sounds like something you need to understand, stay with me. Because what happened to Antonia started with something millions of people dream about. Antonia Becerra has been a waitress for 44 years. Not 44 months, not 44 weeks, 44 years. Think about what that means. She started working at this Los Angeles restaurant when she was 37 years old. She's 81 now. She's still there. This isn't a story about someone with a pension or a 401k or investment properties. This is a story about someone who built a life one shift at a time, one tip at a time, one paycheck at a time. $65,000. That's what she managed to save over those 44 years, about $1,500 per year, less than $130 per month. That number tells you everything about Antonia's financial reality. She wasn't wealthy, she wasn't comfortable, she was surviving, and she was doing it in one of the most expensive cities in America. At 81, she should have been thinking about retirement. Maybe not a lavish retirement, just the ability to stop working before her body gave out. To not have to stand on her feet for 8-hour shifts. To not have to depend on coworkers for rides. She had a car, not a new one, but it was hers. It got her to work. It gave her independence. And she had $65,000 in savings. Her safety net. Her entire cushion between stability and catastrophe. Then one day at work, her phone rang.
The man on the other end of the line told her that she had won millions of dollars.
I was jumping up and down. I sent them the money, and then a few days later, I had to send some more money and some more money to get the package, what they call it, the package.
Antonia kept wiring money. Thousands became tens of thousands. And then she ran out. $65,000 gone. 44 years of savings wiped out in a matter of weeks. Most scammers would have moved on at this point. The account is empty. There's nothing left to extract. But these scammers understood something darker. When someone has already lost everything, they become more vulnerable, not less. They told Antonia to sell her car. Read that again. An 81-year-old waitress who depends on transportation to get to work, who lives in Los Angeles, a city built for cars, who has already lost every dollar she saved over 4 decades. They told her to sell her car, and she did. I sold it, and I send them the money because they told me, you send the money today, and tomorrow morning you get your $2 million and the brand new Mercedes.
I sold it, and I sent them the money because he told me, you send the money today, and tomorrow morning you get your $2 million and the brand new Mercedes.
The logic was airtight in her mind. She didn't need her car, because tomorrow she'd have a brand new Mercedes. She just needed to get through one more day, one more payment, one more step. The replacement Mercedes would solve the transportation problem. The $2 million would solve everything else. So, Antonia sold the car that got her to work. She wired that money too. In total, she sent $65,000 to the scammers. Every penny she had, plus the car. The scammers even tried to get her social security number, the last piece of her identity they could monetize. The money went to Nigeria. Wire transfers are nearly impossible to trace once they leave the country, and even harder to recover. The scammers knew exactly how to move money through systems designed to facilitate international transactions, but not to protect vulnerable people. Antonia Becerra is 81 years old. She's broke. She can't pay her rent. She has no car. And she's still working as a waitress. Think about what that means. After losing everything, she doesn't have the option to rest and recover. She can't take time off to process what happened. She has to show up for her shift because the bills don't stop coming. She catches rides with coworkers now. She's dependent on other people's schedules, other people's generosity. The independence she spent 44 years building is gone.
So we volunteered to pay a month's worth of her rent at her current location and to kind of champion the cause and raising some money for her.
Detective Jason Ross, president of the Glendale Police Officers Association, saw Antonia's case and couldn't walk away. The police department volunteered to pay a month's worth of her rent. They're trying to raise money for her. But here's the hard truth. The Glendale Police Department says they don't have any leads in this case. They don't expect to see any of that money recovered because it went overseas. Antonia will not get her $65,000 back. She will not get her car back. She will not retire. At 81, she'll keep serving food until her body can't do it anymore. Because she has no other choice. The psychological damage is almost harder to measure than the financial loss. Antonia didn't just lose money. She lost the dream of retiring. She lost the belief that something good could happen to her. And she lost her trust in her own judgment. Every time her phone rings now, there's probably a moment of fear. Every time someone makes her an offer, there's probably a moment of doubt. The scammers didn't just take her savings, they took her sense of safety in the world. Antonia's story is not unique. Detective Jason Ross used her case as a warning, especially to seniors. If you get a call or email that sounds too good to be true, it is.
Police Officers Association, and he says this should be a warning to everybody, especially seniors, that if you get a call or email that sounds too good to be true, it is.
But here's what that advice misses. Antonia knew the advice. Everyone knows the advice. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. The problem is that advice assumes people fall for scams because they're naive or greedy. It assumes the red flags are obvious. But Antonia wasn't greedy. She wanted to retire after 44 years of working. That's not an unreasonable dream, and the red flags weren't obvious in the moment. Each payment was framed as a bureaucratic requirement, processing fees, taxes, delivery costs. These are things that exist in legitimate transactions. The scam worked because it exploited the gap between what Antonia had and what she desperately needed. She needed to stop working. She needed financial security. She needed hope. The scammers sold her hope, and they charged $65,000 for it. The institutional failures here are staggering. Antonia made multiple wire transfers over several weeks. At no point did her bank flag the pattern. At no point did Western Union or MoneyGram or whatever service she used refuse the transaction. She was an 81-year-old woman wiring thousands of dollars to Nigeria repeatedly. And every system designed to protect consumers let it happen.
Be very careful. If they get a phone call from one of these men, that's wrong, that they're thieves.
As of February 2026, there has been no public update on Antonia Becerra's financial recovery or current situation beyond the initial news report from Glendale. The Glendale Police Officers Association raised some money to help pay her rent, but there is no information about whether enough was raised to provide long-term stability or help her rebuild any savings. The police department confirmed they have no leads and do not expect to recover any of the $65,000 Antonia lost, as the money went overseas to Nigeria. If you have information about Antonia's current status or know of efforts to support her, this community looks out for each other. The hardest part of Antonia's story isn't the $65,000, it's the car. By the time she sold her car and sent that money, she'd already lost everything. The scammers had already extracted every dollar she had. But they kept going because they could. That's what makes this different from robbery. A robber takes what's in your wallet and leaves. These scammers took what was in her wallet, then convinced her to sell her car, then tried to get her social security number. They didn't stop until there was absolutely nothing left to take. Antonia is 81 years old and she's still working as a waitress because she has no other choice. That sentence should make you angry. I'm J-Jack. This is Love or Lie. If this story made you want to check on an elderly person, someone who might answer the phone when they're lonely, someone who might believe a voice that promises them something better, do it. today. I'll see you then.